Hello and welcome to my latest SolidWorks LEGO Build and Learn series, the Volvo Wheel Loader. Recently I live streamed the SolidWorks modeling and assembly of this LEGO set, and now I've edited those 12 hours of live streams into 9 compact episodes. The series is targeted at beginner to intermediate level SolidWorks users, and you don't need to complete the part modeling from every episode to have a go at the assembly, because I've made all of the 26 parts free to download. I've even exported the assembly in step files, so that if you don't have SolidWorks 2023 or newer, or you've got a different CAD system entirely, you can still have a go at the project. In this series, you can expect to see the use of common features such as extrudes, cuts, revolves, and sweeps, along with more complex use of sketch and feature patterns, mirrors, move copy bodies, and the combine tool, and of course, assembly tools where I bring all of the parts together. I take you through my modeling process step by step, showing my workflow and even my mistakes. I think modeling Lego is an effective way to learn SolidWorks for designers because of the wide variety of parts and the shared design systems that they all use. Now, who am I to suggest such fun? Well, my name is Chris Berkner. I'm a product design engineer here in Melbourne, Australia. I've been using SolidWorks for 20 years and became a certified expert in 2012. Now, on the side of my job designing cool mounts for quad lock, I'm here to teach others the power of SolidWorks for designers and make professional grade SolidWorks skills fun and accessible. So please enjoy the series. Let me know what you found most beneficial. If you get stuck, leave a comment or jump into my fresh Discord and leave a message. Finally, I'd love to know if you like the format and what you might learn best from in the future. Cheers. And we start the series off with some very simple parts that we've actually modeled before. So I'll take you through a process that shows how to model over the top of an existing part. So we use the existing one as reference. And then what's interesting about this, and for a lot of Lego, is that in this model, there's 4 parts called the Technic pins, which are all very, very similar, but with very slight differences between them. So I'll show you how we can go from one file to 4 separate parts in a very efficient manner. Let's jump into the tutorial. And just a quick note on the videos, I only got this lovely new camera halfway through the series. So a couple of the episodes have the older webcam using the up-close footage. You can tell a big difference in the detail. But just let it be known for some of the later parts, particularly the tires and the more complex ones, and for any future projects, we're going to have a much better quality for the really up-close shots. All right, thanks. These are the 3 small round ones, which we have done similar ones to before. So again, we'll open up with those. We'll see how we model them then. We might simplify things this time around. Let's check it out. Those parts, we can find them here. We have the blue Technic pin 3L. We scroll down. We have this Technic half pin and this tan Technic pin. Those are the ones we're looking at. We have a look at our previous library. We have a similar pin here with ridges. I think that's one of the ones we need to do. We have this axle with friction ridges as well. Very similar. Let's open both of those. And check out some of the detail on these. So we did a similar thing when we modeled these first time around. This one here is one that we're actually, this is the exact part. So if we have a look at this little one here in my hand, okay, we've modeled this for the off-road buggy. Okay, we've got that little split detail in it, as you can see there. 4211483. Is it the same? Slightly different number because it's a slightly different color. Interesting that the preview model has those 2 dimples in the sides. We can see here there's variation on parts. Some of them have 1, some 2. Well, let's jump in and get it done. All right, we're going to remodel this. Let's remember how we did it last time. Extrude, extrude, cut, thin feature for that little bottom lip, delete face to get rid of those nasty edges. Let's clean that up a bit better. And then a fillet to round off. Now, if we look at these 3 just before we jump in, they share some features, some geometry, but in slightly different ways. I'm particularly looking at the splits. So if we look at, man, I can't stop moving. So you might look at those 2 in a similar way, that they've got that same lip at the bottom, same little lip, same recess, same ridge. This element at the top is thicker on the yellow one, and that's a bit taller again. It's got like a repeat detail. Whereas this longer one, we just change the angle on this. We do that. Same detail here. Okay, those lines are at the same point. So we don't want to get our focus on today. We'll work on this for next time. But thick sort of mid-band there and they're at the same point, and then one's taller than the other. So let's create that one last. I think we create this gray one first, okay, and then move to the other two. We've got one here already. We're going to use this as reference, but not, we're going to completely remodel the next one. So by reference, I mean, we might save your time with measuring, okay, because we've already got the dimensions here. So let's do it in a way that I like to do lots of practice models. And you can use this method for your own models, where you can do a version 1 of something. You can put it in a folder, for instance, just to say, hey, that's everything from that first model. You can then hide that, and you can essentially start almost with a fresh file, but that data's still there to show you like the dimensions, right? So you don't need to measure again. Very handy, very, very handy. Yeah, we're going to start on the top plane, and we're going to start with a circle. Now, our circle, we can see it's like this. We're going to draw the inside and outside of the circles. So start in the center line, drop out, another line in the middle, out again. Now, the dimensions, I can't see the dimensions while I'm editing a sketch. If I close that sketch, then click on the dimensions of the original, I can see 4.8 and 2.8. So let's put those in, 2.8, 4.8. The part we're doing is here in the corner. Just leave it up on screen. It's tiny. And then the extrude height, I can see 9.6. So you're going to extrude up 9.6, just a single direction. So blind, press OK. Now the next step, we're going to create that band. Now that band is a new sketch with an outer ring of 6 millimeters. We're going to do that same sketch on that same top plane. We're going to convert that existing edge. So we select that and we press convert entities, and then we sketch a new circle with dimension of 6. And now what we want to do is create a boss extrude, which is offset from this plane by 7 millimeters, and then goes up 1 millimeter in thickness in height. So I select the sketch and go extrude up, going to go offset 6 millimeters, and then change the distance to 1 millimeter. I'm going to merge it. Now, when you're merging a body, it's only going to merge with bodies that are visible. So the existing model that was already in here, it's hidden at the moment. It's not going to merge. No, I don't have to worry about that. I go, okay, cool. And now, one mistake here. The offset, it was dimension of 7 up, not 6. So I've got to change that number to 7. Now they're matching. Now, next we're cutting the slot. So for cutting a slot like this, we can use the slot tool or the slot sketch, which is here, straight slot. We can see it's 0.4 radius by 3 high. Now, 3 is going to the outer edge. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to use the front plane, new sketch, grab the slot tool, start on the origin, draw up and out. Then we're going to dimension the radius, 0.4, and then to dimension the height, I'm going to go on that edge or the origin. And when I want to get to the outer edge of the circle, hold shift on my keyboard, click, and then drop. And it's going to give me that dimension. I can then do an extruded cut that goes through both, and that creates my slot detail. All right, we're getting there. Now, next is this little edge. So next up is that little lip around the bottom. Now, last time we did this with an extrude thin, but I then had to do this delete face step afterwards. So I want to avoid that this time. So I want to do a bit better with this sketch. Now, how we did that extrude thin was 0.5 millimeter up, and it had a thickness on outside of 0.1. So this time around, what we can do a little bit differently. We're going to convert this edge, this time offset it by 0.1. Now, when we offset, you see how that edge doesn't come all the way around? It's not straight in line. But if I press Cat End with a line, it's going to add a line for me. Again, you can see it's still not quite straight. All right. So if we look from the bottom view, what I want is a straight line like this, not that kind of gap. Now, so the offset works, but I need to manually draw in those lines to make sure they're vertical. So I've just drawn that one there. I'm going to do the same on this end. So draw a vertical line, power trim to extend and clear off that edge. And I'm going to use the right plane to mirror the entire sketch to the other side. So now when I extrude this up 0.5 of a millimeter, you can see that it's got a nice clear face on this edge, which is a lot different from the original where I had to use that delete face tool. And the last step is a fillet 0.3 on those radiuses. So let's go features, fillet 0.3, and let's see if we can get all 4. We can. All right, and those are done. That is our model, and that is a cleaner version than the version 1. You can see there's only 5 features instead of 6. Is there any other detail that we can put into this part? It's got that little dimple on the edge there on that face. It's not really functional. I'm not too concerned with it. I think everything else looks fine as is. I think that'll do for that one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the version 1 folder and delete the version 1 features. Now, because I built everything independent of those features, when I delete them, it's not going to impact me at all. Now, where it will impact is the existing model that uses this part, because all those references to faces and rounds, they're gone. But there's not many parts I'm going to do this for. I don't mind fixing up a couple of made errors, okay, to get a cleaner model. So I've got no problem with that. Now, we saved this file, but I also need to save a duplicate with a different name because it is 4274 for the version that I'm dealing with. So I'm going to save as 4274. And what color am I doing? Light bluish gray. Okay, light bluish gray it is. Probably should change the color too. So we'll do that here. Change the color, put a little bit of blue in. That's a bit of green. How do we go light blue? A little bit like this. HSV, a little bit more blue, a little bit less. Okay, that'll do. Another part done. Put it in the assembly. It's fine. Yeah. There we go. I'd like to remind you that if you are having trouble with following any of the modeling, you can download any of the files by following the links in the description below. Once you've signed up to the email list, you'll get access to a Google Drive. In that drive, you can download either the SolidWorks 2023 version parts or step files. Step files can be imported to SolidWorks if you have a version that is older than 2023. Now we've got 2 parts left. Let's do the yellow one, which is this Technic pin 3/4. We're going to open that file and we're going to save as. We're going to save the copy this time, 32002, and it is Technic pin 3/4. And do 3/4 like this. And what's the color? And okay, save. Now the tan color, we'll just update that. Yellowish. All right, now to change the model. Difference with this one, it's got a thicker midsection. So I think we'll just measure that straight away and add in 1.8 millimeter. So it's going to go up like that. Now I think that's the same as the other one at 7 millimeters from the bottom. Yep, that looks right. So no changes there. Now all the changes after that, because we've got this same lip detail here on the other end, and the whole thing's bigger. So if we measure the whole thing, we're getting 11.8. So we're going to increase the full size to 11.8. We're going to add in this cut. We're going to edit this sketch, and we're going to draw a new one at the other end and make these 2 slots equal. You can see it's hitting right on that edge there. I'm not sure if we're going to get an error from that or not. It's okay. And then this extrude, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use that same sketch, but at this end, just like that. And I'm going to drop that fillet down underneath, because then I can fillet all 4 of these edges. There we go. Very quick modifications to existing part. I don't think the color's quite right. I mean, just fix that up a little bit. But yeah, how quick was that, right? Let's save that, put it in the assembly. Okay. And then the last one, the long one. It's different about this. It's got a little bump in this section here. You can just see there's a area where it's got a small bump. And then it's sort of central to where that slot is. Okay, that's an actually important detail for how the parts are fit together, but snap together. So we're going to put that one in. Let's go to our list. You can see the number here. So without friction ridges, interesting, 32556. We'll save a copy, name in, and save. All right. Now the changes that we're going to make to this one, obviously need to increase the length. That's the first thing. And the length goes to 23.6, right? That's the first bit. This is going to be exactly the same point, so that's fine. All the other detail at the other end is exactly the same, so that's cool. We need to do that friction ridge. Well, it says not a friction ridge, but it's what it kind of looks like. So let's go on the front plane and let's measure like the center point of where that is.
bit difficult to do, but it kind of looks like it's in exactly whatever the length of this part is, that's in the middle of that, which makes a lot of sense. That's about 15 millimeters. So the middle will be around 7.5. Yep, 7.5. Let's just see how that measurement works. 14.8. Yep. So what we'll do is do a line from here to here. That line gives us a center point like that. Now with that center point, we can do this kind of ridge. Now look, it's really, really tiny. So quite hard to measure. Maybe I can measure a diameter, because this part is 4.6, where the ridge is 5. So we put that in. The width of that ridge, look, 2 millimeters, 2.2. All right. So to get that little ridge detail, we draw a construction line from top to bottom. That gives us our midpoint. Now, because otherwise, if I did a midpoint, it only goes to that little edge. It doesn't go all the way to the top. I want it right in the middle. I go from the top all the way down, midpoint across, and then do a slot and add a dimension for the radius of the slot. Then I'm going to do a revolve. I'll revolve around this, and that gives us our little raise in the middle. Now, I do think it's not quite right. The shape, the geometry doesn't look quite right. The reason is the bump doesn't cut back in sharply. It kind of cuts that in a bit more of a curve. How do I describe that? Well, let's say that it's got an arc to it. It's more like this. And we go from this edge to this edge. I just want half, please. And that's 0.1. It's very small. I want it to be central there. And I want this dimension to be 2. Okay. So that's very different to a slot. You see, it's got a much bigger radius on the outside. So now when that one is revolved, that's a much different appearance, much more like what I see on this. Now, the last thing, we've got to do those slots, and those slots, just like the other slots, which was 3 high by 0.4. Let's measure that slot. So I can see that this one, the full height, is actually closer to 4, 3.8. Let's assume it's the same width, 0.4. So now I need to rotate 90 degrees around. I'm going to use the right plane. We're going to put a center line here. Actually, I could do it the other direction. Just find that center point. I'm going to then put my center point slot on that, draw it up, out, 0.4, and we said 3.8. Now, if we want to, no, I can't really link the width of this to the other slots. They're on different planes. It's not quite going to work. This will be fine. Do an extruded cut through all both. That creates that little slot detail. All right, and that is another finished part. And we can chuck that in the assembly. And look at us go. 7 parts in one session. Nice work.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Really appreciate that. This has been the LEGO Build and Learn series by Fully Defined. If the next video has been released, it'll be on the top link to your right. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and leave a comment below with what you'd like to see next. Your feedback is what motivates me to provide more content. See you in the next one.